Hi guys and welcome, and today I've seen that amazing Apple conference, Apple show, and so it was on October 18th, 2021, and they've shown us a lot of new features. That's a new HomePod Mini with new plans on Apple Music. Just there's no plans. There's even one place cheaper only for voice comments, which works only on Apple devices, but they are also the same to more expensive plans, which are standard plan, which works on Apple device and Android device, and family plan also for Apple and Android. They've shown us also HomePod in a color version, which these HomePods are really great. But the most important thing was the new release um, of a MacBook Pro. As you have seen in a standard MacBook and a MacBook Air, we have M1 processor. In the older generation, MacBook Pro 13, you have M1 processor, and in the newer 14 and 16-inch, we have M1 Pro and M1 Max. What's the difference? The difference are in Core, which in in a more simple processor in M1 Pro, you have a less GPU cores. In the M1 Max, you have more GPU cores, and you have also in M1 Max ProRes encoding cores, which allows you to encode even more faster and with hardware support video. That's similar to a CUDA on GeForce. But what's the difference between this new MacBook Pro and PC laptops? Of course, the most important are details. What's better in that MacBook? The better there will be that you can encode videos on the battery. You don't need a power supply. In most computers, most laptops, for a normal standard use like websites, you can use battery or power supply, but you will need to connect power supply or charger when you want to encode videos in Premiere or other software, because you will need more energy. M1 processors, of course, are more power efficient than Intel processor i7 or i9. That's the normal thing, that this Apple Silicon architecture will be more efficient. You have a unified memory, which is so important for a faster access, and you have unified SSD. And I can tell you that on a battery, of course, M1 processor, M1, M1 Pro, and M1 Max, especially M1 Max in the MacBook Pro 16, will be much faster because of that ProRes encoding chips, cores, and of integrated SSD, which is twice faster than NVMe. On NVMe, you have 3,500 megabits per second. On NVMe, on this unified in a Max, you will have up to 7,007 gigabits per second. So that's a much faster writing and reading speed. Random access will be the same as on SATA or NVMe. But we need to compare in a normal use. The bad thing of M1 Apple Silicon architecture is that it's completely incompatible with Intel x86 64 Intel 64-bit processors. That incompatible, you will need to use emulation like Rosetta 2. The good thing is that with that Adobe software for mice now is universal software, so there's a software for Intel-based Macs and Apple Silicon-based Macs, so you can install Adobe Premiere for Macs on i5, i7, i9 computers, and also on Apple Silicon M1, M1 Pro, and M1 Max. The great thing is that there's more available memory, because on M1 you could have up to 16 GB of RAM. On M1 Pro and M1 Max you can have up to 64 GB of RAM. but that's not the most important thing. You are able to buy a configured version of these Macbooks with different memory, different storage, even with up to 64 GB of RAM and up to 8 TB of hard drive. But the same you can have on other computers. You can have pretty nice computer with the same memory, but for a less price. I'm not talking about the desktop, because if you want to compare desktop, you will have to compare iMac with a desktop Windows PC. Now, I'd like to compare the price of this new MacBook Pro 16 in two configuration with other. So there is available configuration with 16 GB of RAM and 512 GB of SSD. And this cost £2,400, which is 2,800 euros. So for 2,800, this similar computer you are able to buy for about 1,700 euros, 1,000 euros and 100 less on AliExpress, and it's made by Xiaomi. The second version, there's a version with 32 GB of RAM and 1 TB hard drive, and the third version with 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB SSD. So the last version that with 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB of SSD costs 2,600 pounds, which is about 3,000 euros. The same computer with Intel i7 processor with 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB hard drive you can buy on AliExpress for 1,800 euros. Exactly the price is 1,400 or 1,500 euros, plus you need to pay 300 VAT. So that's 1,800 for that computer. The only difference is that with a Xiaomi My Notebook you have unified only RAM memory. The hard drive is not unified. You have two M2 ports. With the first for a system drive, which is occupied by that first SSD, you can replace it, of course. Allows you to install SSD NVMe with up to 4 TB of capacity, and the second is NVMe compatible with SATA, so you can install NVMe or SATA drive in a second slot, and it will be also up to 4 TB. Of course, if you will want to install in the future, you can buy 4 TB hard drive, SSD hard drive costs about 400 euros, 2 TB costs about 200 euros, and 1 TB costs about 100 euros. So we can install now two 1 TB hard drives, and in the future you can upgrade it up to 8 TB when the drives will be cheaper. So that's a really great thing. You cannot do it on MacBook, because you have to buy with that configuration what you want, because the SSD will be soldered on the main board. At the end of the video I want to show you some photos of a configuration from Applecom, from a British Applecom store, a pound to euro exchange, and the price from AliExpress for that computer. So as you can see, you can buy for 1,800 euros a computer with i7 processor, 16 GB of RAM, and that 1 TB hard drive. When in the Apple you will have to pay 3,000, so that's 1,200 euro less. If you want to buy a computer with 32 GB of RAM from Xiaomi, you will have to pay 2,000 euros plus 400 VAT, so that's 2,400 euros for 32 GB computer. That computer will have an RTX graphic card and 1 TB hard drive. So as you can see on AliExpress, you can buy computers which are less expensive with maybe not with a better performance, but less expensive and really good computers. And you can save a lot of money because 1,800 euros comparing to 3,000 euros, that's a huge difference. And what do you think about the Apple conference? Maybe you will compare it with other computers. We will see what we have on the market. Thanks for watching and see you soon.